You are listening to Mining Stock Education, where you'll learn from the top leaders in the natural resource sector and uncover quality mining investment opportunities.
We're surrounded by Norte Abierto, which is the Newmont Barrick 50/50 joint venture, which contains the Caspiche and Cerro Casale deposits, which have a combined endowment of 50 million ounces of gold and 13 billion pounds of copper. On the project, since we've had it, we've done a lot of work with all, of course, the data that was available to us, and fortuitously, some fantastic geophysical surveys were done, and we've identified 4 porphyry centers, which is also being corroborated in part by, our knowledge in the field. So we're extremely excited to get after this. We feel the potential is equal to, either a Cerro Casale or a Caspiche on Santa Cecilia.
Welcome back to Mining Stock Education. I'm your host, Bill Powers, and in today's show, we're getting an update from CEO Shawn Wallace, as well as Chief Geologist Michael Henriksen of Torq Resources. Torq has had a lot go in their favor in the last month or two with an advanced discovery at the Margarita Project, as well as a corporate investment of $15 million from Gold Fields. So, gentlemen, welcome back onto the program. And Shawn, can we start off with this $15 million Canadian investment from Gold Fields? Gold Fields is a gold producer. So what did they see in Torq that would spur on their investment?
Well, I think they see what we saw, which is the opportunity to build up massive gold resources and copper resources, for that matter, very quickly. These large bulk tonnage type projects, you can develop a lot of resources very quickly. And I think that's the sort of thing that would attract a major mining company like Gold Fields. And
they're primarily interested in your Santa Cecilia project, I believe?
Yeah, ultimately, I think they're going to be involved in whatever quality project that, comes together through our exploration efforts. Initially, of course, Santa Cecilia is the one that had the most appeal on acquisition, if you will, because it had that drill hole. Margarita lacked the drill hole. But during the time that we were discussing a potential arrangement with them, we went ahead and made the discovery of Margarita, and then furthermore followed up on it and substantiated with, as you saw in our most recent news release. So I think that that project is, if I can't speak for Gold Fields, but I would strongly suggest, knowing what business they're in, and particularly with the gold content of the Margarita Discovery, it would be something that would be becoming more interesting to them as time goes on here.
So with the $15 million, you did have a $3 million credit facility. Are you using the $15 million to pay off that credit facility right now?
Well, that credit facility is also has a warrant attachment to it. So we haven't decided how we're going to take care of that. But we don't necessarily need to dip into our cash to do that. No, that can be converted into stock. And I believe, and again, I don't want to speak for other people, but that the holder of that will probably want the shares, particularly given the way things are going for the company.
So, Michael, you are looking at drilling your Santa Cecilia project, and I understand you have a community agreement in place now also.
Yeah, that's right. It was a major milestone for us. We have a community agreement for 7 years, which covers the length of our option. And so, we've got the runway to get our boots on the ground and get going on this project that we've been dreaming about all this time. So we expect boots on the ground probably mid-October. We've got some pre-drilling work to do. As we've said before, this project's been suspended in time since, basically 1990. And so we got to update the geology, the alteration, the geochemistry, so we can put the drill in the right spot. And we're looking to drill early in the new year, hopefully in January.
Will that be a reverse circulation drilling or a diamond?
This will be diamond.
Diamond, okay. And so any meterage you kind of have in your head planned out right now?
Not at the moment, because we're going to be drilling. We will be drilling in January, probably run till around April, May, when winter starts to set in. We don't want to drill in the Cordillera in winter. And then we'll, take a couple of months off and pop back up to the top of the hill and keep going. A little premature to talk meterage at this point, though, for us.
Okay. If you could remind listeners, because it's been a while since we talked about the project, what are we talking about here? You are surrounded by giants.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's we're surrounded by Norte Abierto, which is the Newmont Barrick 50/50 joint venture, which contains the Caspiche and Cerro Casale deposits, which have a combined endowment of 50 million ounces of gold and 13 billion pounds of copper. On the project, since we've had it, we've done a lot of work with all, of course, the data that was available to us, and fortuitously, some fantastic geophysical surveys were done, and we've identified 4 porphyry centers, which is also being corroborated in part by, our knowledge in the field. So we're extremely excited to get after this. We feel the potential is equal to, either a Cerro Casale or a Caspiche on Santa Cecilia. And obviously we want to take the care, with that pre-drilling work to make sure that we get those first initial drill holes in the right spot.
So your
prize is big.
The prize is big. You're pursuing a huge porphyry, but you also are having success at an IOCG project, your Margarita project. You just released your second discovery hole there, and it's an extension of 190 meters, I believe, from your last hole. Walk us through this, please.
Sure. Obviously, we made that initial discovery. I think the press release was back in May. And, we immediately wanted to follow up on it. And we just completed recently a 4,000 meter program with 11 holes along that particular target area, the 513 structural corridor. We stepped out 200 meters on our first hole, hit 98 meters of 0.94 gold and 0.68 copper. Extraordinary results for me. We've learned a lot here already in that second hole. First off, we're all very surprised at the high gold content, the consistent high gold content. I mean, we have a little bit of an internal joke. Maybe it's an IOGC rather than a CG. We don't know. We're learning. But we also learned that there's quite a big leaching profile and a lot of oxide material. So of that 98 meters that we put out that intercept, I'd just like to point out that 48 meters was basically gold only because the copper had been leached, and it was 48 meters of, if I remember correctly, 1.15 grams per ton gold in oxide. So just an extraordinary start to a discovery. We're learning as we go. I mean, it's like rapid fire learning. Each drill hole provides you with more information and new ideas. What I can tell you is our feeling is that there's, based on what we've learned thus far, there's probably multiple pods of mineralization on this property. We're really understanding sort of new target areas, and we've got some work to do, but beautiful start.
Yeah, could it be a disseminated deposit as well?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, right now we're structurally controlled. There's no doubt about that. But certainly, it absolutely could be disseminated. We're seeing intrusions that are mineralized, different phases of intrusions that are mineralized. And, we're just in that infancy of understanding what's going on here. I mean, what we can tell you for sure is there will be a phase 3 of drilling at Margarita. I can't tell you the timing yet, of course, but, we're going back for sure.
So, Shawn, on the timing of the Margarita advancement, that's a project you can drill year round, correct?
Yeah, it's at low altitude near highways, an hour away from Copiapo, which is, the major mining center in Chile. Frankly, it could not be better located.
Okay. So you have these two projects, and I asked you last time, I remember, about prioritization. So you shared a little bit of your executive philosophy, but you also have another copper porphyry project, your Andrea Project. What is happening here, Shawn?
Yeah, well, Andrea, we're continuing in the background when we have extra manpower and so forth, which is, we haven't had a lot of that because of how well things have been going at Margarita. We've had to, that was a long shot project, if you will. We made a discovery, so now we've thrown, our capital and our human resources towards that. But Andrea certainly is prepped and ready to go. I mean, Michael could speak more specifically to it, but I can tell you, right now we've just got access to Santa Cecilia. We've had this discussion many times, even though Margarita is exciting first time and it's amazing. Santa Cecilia was who we brought to the dance, so to speak. And so we've got an opportunity now. We've also got contractual obligations on Santa Cecilia to get up there and get some work done. So that's going to be our primary focus for all those reasons. And then Andrea we will get to Andrea, I assure you. And frankly, we're actually quite excited to give it that test. We know what the odds are of it happening, but I mean, our Chilean team, I'm liking their track record so far of suggesting things that we should drill. I'm prone to listen to them.
Shawn, some mining investors were concerned about Chile as a jurisdiction earlier this year, but there has been no constitutional changes from what I read in the headlines in the Western press. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think what you guys had there, it is typical, and I don't blame anybody. No one has time to be a full study on things, but You see the media, obviously, the hyperbole you get into the media, and it's like all this radicalism is because people can print whatever they on the internet now. Particularly, these things can get out there and they can get out of hand. We were never super concerned about, obviously, or more so just in that we had to fight this perception that things were happening. All our interactions with government individuals of varying backgrounds and perspectives on life, if you will, within the Chilean society that we've been interacting with have all given us the impression this is more of a middle of the road type country rather. And I think you can see by the way the vote shook out that this is what the Chilean people spoke. And it's not just about mining, it's about all sorts of change that's coming. And we're seeing that globally as well. I mean, I'm involved with other companies and things in other parts of the world, and you're seeing that where the change is amongst it. I mean, let's face it, the ability to adapt to change is sort of one of the biggest, strongest skills that people my generation and younger need to have. It's been unprecedented, the rate of change that society and humans are going through right now. So I think what you're seeing in Chile is some things were proposed. People said how they felt about it, and we remain extremely comfortable operating, working, living, being in Chile. It's fantastic. In fact, there's nowhere I'd rather be right now.
Michael, could you review for us as we conclude what catalyst investors should look for over the next few months?
Certainly. Obviously, the balance of the Margarita drill results, we expect that roughly in 6 weeks. I mean, labs, of course, control the timing of that. Start of work at Santa Cecilia. Obviously, that's a really big thing for us internally, and I think obviously for our investors as well as we get cracking on that project. And then, obviously moving towards that first initial Torq drill campaign on Santa Cecilia in the new year.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much, Michael. Thank you, Shawn, for this update, and congratulations again on the corporate investment as well as the advanced discovery.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.